Hello, everyone, and welcome to my mock draft 3.0. This is very exciting. We're going to be looking at two rounds this time because I just recently finished my entire draft board. Still have some sifting through some of the undrafted guys, but everyone that has or had a consensus grade this year has been watched and graded by me. So we're going to be doing this mock using a combination of now my board as well as what has been heard from around the league and from teams and how they've acted with certain prospects to try and emulate what could happen. And there is some crazy things that happen. So since we're going to be doing two rounds this time, I'm going to skip out on doing trades during the draft, especially with how many trades have already happened in real life. We'll do a quick intermission between rounds so I can catch my breath a little. You guys can grab a snack or just catch a moment to breathe. It's going to be a very long video. The grading scale is the same as the previous two, and with that being said, let's get to it. All right, so we do have a couple picks here that I don't think are going to be changing much. I have seen stuff about Thibodeau sliding. If I'm Jacksonville, I don't let that phase me when I'm picking up here, but maybe it does. We'll see how it goes for them in real life. I still really like Thibodeau as the high end upside here. Even he said his best Clowney, but actually, finished his development hopefully. And I think you're getting an amazing player here to start. This pick for me also doesn't change for the Detroit Lions. I mean, they need the hedge help really to pair with the Aquara. He's a hometown guy. This is really no brainer here. I see no other way. Neil has also been falling in some drafts. I'm going to assume it's player fatigue because his tape and physical grades are basically what I'd rank as top of my draft board. He's still my number one player in my opinion. Um, I would like to think that the Texans would like him more than Cross. Just as Neil has the experience on both sides, he has a really long history of good film from a top organization that's had to face top competition. I just like to think that that's what they'd like to do. All right, so here's my first big change. The Gardner hype is getting huge, and his style of play fits perfectly here. Salo would really like his ability to press and just get in guys' faces for this cover three scheme. Gardner's frame and athletics are also really good for taking on these larger guys. And pairing him with your new corner and DJ Reed, who shouldn't cover these big body guys, uh, you're having an answer to every threat to this defense. Jets start to really fix that corner room big time as offseason, and they could start getting some pieces going here, and maybe they can catch momentum late in the season. Another no change here. This is just too good for the Giants to pass up, honestly. I've talked about length, how Cross's style fits Dable's scheme perfectly. This is just a slam dunk all around. All right, Panthers. You've made it more than obvious that you want to take a QB, despite everything telling you to hold off. They're really in the prisoner dilemma. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Basically, the dilemma means that no question would make sense for all NFL teams to work together and hold off on the QBs as they're not really strong this year and most of their value comes near the late of the first or beginning of the second. But there's always that incentive for a QB needy team to betray that idea and just pick the one first. Panthers have really shown their hand and they seem like they want to violate it. They showed no interest in measuring Pickett's hands on the remeasure, and they've been physically present on all pro days. And when I mean present, I mean coach, front office, coordinator, scouts. They have shown up big to all of these so far. They mean business to take a QB here after the Darnold thing not really working out. So I really hope that they pick the guy with the highest ceiling possible in Malik Willis and just let him develop. I don't know if that's what they're going to end up doing, but I hope this works out for them because this might be what signs Matt Rule out of Carolina. All right, Giants coming off the Panthers making the move that's going to start the craziness in this draft. The Giants really need to compose themselves and make a good selection here when teams are starting to scramble. Well, Kyle Hamilton is going to get an A grade for me now because I just love the fit here. Peppers is gone. You cut Ryan to save some money for the Giants. He's not only filling up a need, but he will show up big in New York. He can come down, play the high rate. He's got the extreme length. He can rotate high in safety and disguise coverages. I mean, this is a great way to retool your defense. You get your new right tackle, and then you get your new starting safety, and you just start all over again. Both of them athletic freaks. Absolutely Giants. What a slam dunk in the first. All right, Falcons. Falcons are another team that has shown no shame in showing up at every QB Pro Day and showing up big. For them, however, they could really not to go QB here. I would, if I was them, prefer not to. They really liked Pickett and Willis, as well as the Panthers. They both like the same quarterbacks, which is kind of interesting. And with Willis going to their competitor, they might like to take the higher floor type build here. The NFL really likes Kenny Pickett as a top 10 quarterback. Even when they bring in Mario in a 2-year deal, which can act as a one, teams are really looking at him to pick that early. So even though he's not my personal favorite pick here, teams, I don't know, they panic. They have personal preferences, and Kenny Pickett just seems to be like a guy that Atlanta wants. So, I mean, whether they go here or they decide, hey, we're going to go for the long haul and they go somewhere like a Kwanu, for example, either one's going to continue to shake the board. I just rather personally go to other players than Pickett, but we'll see what they do in real life. All right, Seahawks have made it more than clear they do not care about quarterback in this class. They really do not. Um, no one of great importance has like literally showed up at any pro day. The biggest thing they showed up to was Malik Willis's pro day. They sent a head scout and they sent their quarterback coach. Like Schneider's not showing up to anything. Carroll's not showing up to anything. No, like none of their coordinators. Like they seem just to really like Locke, and they've been the only ones actively calling to get Mayfield at this point. So I mean, they honestly might try some dart throws at QB this year and just rebuild everything else. That might be their idea, or maybe the Panthers ruined their plan of taking Willis here by taking him at 6. Either way, I don't see this being a quarterback selection now for Seattle with how this is played out. The selection process was tough. They need both tackles. They need another edge and another linebacker now, and they desperately need a cornerback to fill out that room. So most of the guys that they showed interest in real life are also gone, and Gardner and Hamilton. So we're gonna have to take Derek Stingley, who's fallen as well in recent mocks, probably due to the tape being a little all over the place, some of the injury concern. But he still has incredibly high upside, and he's easily predicted as a number one corner, which is what Seattle needs here. Hopefully it's a hit. They really need it. All right, Jets, man, this is tough. They got some really nice options on the board. I mean, there's a Quanu who they could try at tackle. I'm not sure if he could do the wide zone scheme, the Shanahan offense, but maybe he can do it. And if not, I mean, you slide him to the guard. Maybe you can try to kick one of the other two guards you got in Tomlinson or the guy they drafted last year. I'm forgetting his name right now. Fair Tucker. There we go. Try them at center after McGovern's gone. It's a bit of a hard spot for them, but maybe they like him at tackle. Or they can go Garrett Wilson. They can get that number one receiver spot for Zach Wilson and just give him all the weapons and protection he could possibly need. So it could honestly just be a coin flip in real life. I'm going to go Wilson here. I like Wilson more for them. I think it helps so much. And there's still offensive tackles that fit their scheme in free agency. I just really like Equanu in a more power scheme where I think that'll let his talents thrive a lot more. Garrett as a player creates a load of separation, and his tracking on the ball is fantastic. Look no further than his pro day. Him, Corey Davis, and Moore are gonna do work here. All right, Commanders got Norrell to take Flowers' spot. Now they need to replace Scherf. So while you could try him offensive tackle here, they've already figured out the tackle spot. So I really like Equanu going to play offensive guard in this scheme, and I think he'd be a legit threat. They can just pound or air the ball out all day, and then Commanders in their new name just completely re-up on the offensive line. Well, Vikings got Hunter and Smith now. They don't necessarily need to go edge early anymore. Going either corner or wide receiver probably makes the most sense. We're going to go get big-bodied, hard-nosed receiver that fits this scheme well in Traylon Burks. He's not the highest player on my board at the current moment, but teams love him, and he'll just take the heat off Jefferson. He'll let Thielen start taking more opportunities as his ability is starting to decline in his older age. Maybe getting Thielen going in the slot, I can see that be very deadly. And get that trio going, that'd be hard to stop. All right, wide receivers going off the board fast, and we need one here as the Texans, among a lot of other things. So let's go get a high-end one that we honestly are just completely fine if he needs some more time to heal. Jameson Williams, great athlete, young, same job going at all levels of the field, and he is incredible as a deep threat. He will really stretch the field out and force these safeties to play honest at the back end. This will really help Mills just stretch the field and attack all three levels, and he can keep this defense spread out, which was a real issue for the Texans last year, where teams started coming up into the box late season, and they really couldn't get anything going because they were so determined to run the ball and take the short option. All right, so Ravens tried to bring back Zadarius Smith, and unfortunately for them, he took more money to go stay in the NFC. However, for them, there is a big body edge that fits that scheme, and he's fallen right to them. So getting Carl Loftus to pair with Owe and their other talented edges that can drop in and out and do stunts, I mean, this is nice. They're going to be looking to get constant pressure, and they can move Carl Loftus down to play almost three tech when they're in like obvious passing downs. They love to do that with Zadarius Smith and with McPhee, who they also have or had for a long period of time. Getting Karloftis to do that role, and you have Owe kind of taking the outside. I mean, this is a defensive nightmare to figure out schematically. All right, no change here for the Eagles. Cornerbacks are also flying off the board. They need one. Take Booth, move on. Simple. All right, so Daxton Hill's no longer my safety one. However, he still fits best here with the Eagles want out of their guys. Hill's got that experience playing in the slot, and he covers those receivers pretty well even. So having him come down to take that Malcolm Jenkins role almost, and be able to cover the tight end. You still have Harris, who also is very similar in this build. You got basically two safeties that can play this hybrid set deep coverages that the Eagles really like to run a lot, and he'll just slide right in. He'll fit the secondary perfectly. The secondary now has been completely retooled, and it shouldn't be a drastic issue. Chargers, no change here again. I just really like Penning to take that spot behind Bulaga and be his successor. It helps them stay cheap. He's got a nasty attitude, and he finishes guys into the ground. I mean, that mentality is going to be needed to take this division over because it is getting competitive and quickly. Well, not my favorite player. Saints really need the offensive tackle help, and they don't have the money to go get one in free agency. Rayman's got a very solid base, and he's got the athletics after playing tight end for a very short while. I think he'll fit in nicely here. It's just you really need him to not bite on these cross chops that he was taking advantage on, and hopefully his technique can catch up. You've got some good O-line talent to help teach him there, because riding that minimum 33-inch arm length, I mean that's where things start to get into issues if they don't have perfect technique. So hopefully he can learn it here. All right, Eagles come full circle, take the prototype linebacker. They hope he can be somewhat like the prospect of Jamin Davis is, maybe a little bit better in coverage if they're really lucky. I mean, it's a need. They get to fill it out. Pair him up with Kaiser White, who had a really good season last year. You got Edwards for more rundowns as well to pair with those three. I'm not big on taking linebackers too early in the first, but this is just too good a need for the Eagles. All right, so Steelers have shown heavy interest in QB, and they could honestly go Ritter or Howell here. It's a real tough call, but what they really haven't done is show moves that would support taking a quarterback here. So what we're going to do first here for the Steelers is we're going to go corner and we're going to try to help fix the secondary, as that position is going quickly. We're going to go take Roger McCreary, who is arguably the best man corner in this draft. He's still learning zone coverages, so there is that, and that's why he's falling a little bit further here. But the athletics and the ability to play bump and run man, which is what the Steelers like to do here, and just let their front do the work. I mean, this is a perfect scheme fit for the Steelers, and I think they'll love his style of play here. All right, New England Patriots, wide receiver and now corner are unfortunately a need here with Jackson being gone. McCreary would have been nice, but they're going to have to settle for McDuffie, who's a very solid player and man as well. I know some mocks have McDuffie ahead of McCreary here, and maybe he ends up being the better player, so maybe they do get away with a better player here. But it's a solid split in the middle decision. You're going to have to replace J.C. Jackson somehow because you really don't have much talent at the corner position besides Jones here, who's your slot receiver or slot not slot receiver, slot corner. Pardon me, but It's tough. They could honestly go either way. I would say they go McDuffie because that position is really, really thin. All right, no change for Green Bay here. Green Bay needs a receiver. Olave is a great fit. He can almost kind of replicate what Devontae Adams does in the route running sense. If he can get that release thing going, I mean, you basically just swap them out. Great selection. Lots of pieces here are moving around with the Cardinals. Tons of these athletic freaks and high-end talent. So for the Cardinals, we need to start looking to bolster this front seven with Jones and a lot of our other interior pieces now gone. Davis is just the best nose tackle in the class. He's an incredible athlete. I think he's a good project and he can slide right in as a starter here. He just really needs to work on his ability to actually stay in the game. His conditioning seriously needs work, but I think he'll be a very just simple slide in and play here. So O-line's getting a little thin here for the Cowboys' liking, and with a lot of these top receivers gone, I really like them to take Linderbaum here to play offensive center. This really could push this team to new heights. They could really build a new Great Wall of Dallas with a much younger team, with Martin still being there, right? Collins is unfortunately gone. He's playing for the Bengals now, but getting Linderbaum, who I think could be a very high-end center prospect. I know he's got the shorter arms as well, but I think he's got the athletics to play it. If he figures that out, if he rides that line, you have like an all-pro center falling to you at pick 24. This could work out nicely. All right, Buffalo Bills, we're looking for high-end talent here that has a very solid floor. We want to win a Super Bowl now. So I really like going with Kyer Elam here. I think he's a very nice pick that helps fills out that corner room beside White. He's very physical and shut down. He's still very young. He's very fluid in his hips as well. When you want to run that man coverage, I mean, Elam will just slide right in, and he'll help as well because White's also not very tall. So if you get like let's say a Mike Evans you have to face, right? If you have to face a Mike Evans, well, Kyer you can match him up with, and Kyer should have a much easier time dealing with him than White does. I think this is great. And on top of that, when you face the Dolphins twice a year and they got all those deep receiving threats, you're going to need the corner help to help shut them down. All right, so Titans really want to take tackle here, but there's really no one who's worth the shot in my opinion. And if you can't move down, well, you'll need to find something and quickly. So I think we should be looking to fix that strong safety position here, and I really like Jalen Petre to slide right in. He plays very hard, and his man coverage is actually really serviceable for those hybrid looks that you want to do in this kind of Belichickian defense, right? So while he's not who you wanted initially, he's a really good compensation prize, and I think he could be a high-end player very early, especially after dominating the Senior Bowl, showing some actually good man coverage versus receivers and just straight up man on man, and his combine being very solid as well. All right, interior pieces are also starting to move quickly now, and Wyatt is the last of the really insanely good ones. I think he'll just help the pass rush and run defense just immediately, and he'll get this team back to its incredible frontline production that we saw in the Super Bowl win 2 years ago. Not much more else to say. Very tough for Green Bay here. You need either wide receiver or an IDL piece since the tackle group is really gone until second round guys at this point. We're gonna have them reach a little bit, and we're gonna have them take Logan Hall, who is gonna need to add a little more weight onto his frame, but he is a relentless rusher on the interior. Not to mention that he posts very well run defense grades, like insanely good run defense grades in the 90s, which will help the Packers from getting ran over, right? So you're gonna stop the run, you're gonna force people to air it out, and you have the secondary start making picks here. This is really how it's gonna help, and having Hall and Clark, especially in nickel looks, this is where Green Bay's defense starts to get really good. All right, Hardman's got to be the speed guy here with Hill gone. So we're going to take London and we're going to pair him with Smith-Schuster on the outside here to really help Mahomes a lot. We're going to hopefully get a lot more possession catches, a lot more guys who can just take what is needed. Doesn't have to always be deep. London he'll play tough. He's really great at the point of the catch, strong hands. He moves pretty well for a guy that size. He should really help Mahomes give him more of those 50-50 options that are in his favor. Well, Trayvon Walker slid nicely to Kansas City, and they really should not pass him up. I've seen Walker go in the top 5 now, which I think is a bit ridiculous. I've also heard nothing of teams liking him that high. But maybe in the next coming weeks that'll change. But for now, we're gonna have him down here. Walker just will be a nice slide in for Kansas City. He's just gonna need more reps in traditional rushes. That's really the problem, is that those reps in traditional rushes where he just needs to beat a guy straight up. He just doesn't have the tape to support that. He has most of his production on stunts or guys that were just really designed to help push the quarterback or the running back slide towards him. But even then, there's really no reason to pass him up here, as they need the edge help. He's got the athletic freak tendencies. He has the high upside. I think he's still absolutely worth the first round grade. All right, so this is this is a crazy pick here. Okay, I know it is. It's absolutely early, but their O-line issues are basically solved through free agency, right? What they really need is they need a pairing of another corner, and this is a reach. But if they want to be back in the Super Bowl again, you're gonna have to start taking guys with a very physical profile. They can really just bump and run with guys. Tariq Woolen has some issues. Do not get me wrong. His hips can still be broken down deep. But the athletic upside here is just too tempting for the Bengals, despite my rating of it. They need corner, and they might honestly just say F it like they did with John Ross a few years ago. This pick is either the insane hit of the draft or an immediate flop like kind of Ross was. We're going to have to see how it pans out. I hope for the best for the Bengals. All right, Lions. Lions pick is in here as well. I'm not really comfortable taking the quarterback anymore. I've been watching their pro days, and I just really don't like the quarterback class. And I think most of these teams they're going to wait till round two. There's going to be ones who take it early, but if I'm the Lions here after two guys have already been taken, I want to take a good player here who needs to really embody what Detroit wants, right? Which is really hard-nosed football, get in your face, right? You're not going to have time to think kind of football. And that's what Dean does. And he can be moved all over the field. He is an excellent blitzer. He comes downhill really quick and fast. He's excellent at shedding those blockers and getting after a quarterback. He's got the sideline to sideline speed. He's got some instincts in coverage as well, so you have a base there to start developing that over the middle of the field. I really just like this best for the Lions. I could see them go a number of other ways here, but they just picked up Gerard Davis. Let's go get the scalpel to the hammer, so to speak. All right, quick intermission. I said we're going to do this at the start of the video, and we're going to start now. We're already 20 something minutes in. So if you need to go grab a snack, a drink, need to pause the video for a moment, feel free to do so now. I'll be here waiting for you. And if you're still listening in at this point, I cannot thank you enough. These type of videos take a long time to make, and after finishing a board, which takes months of work for me to complete to even start these videos, I feel really appreciative that you guys do watch it. So if you do enjoy the content, please consider subscribing and liking the video, as it does really help. Now we've taken a quick break. Let's get into round two. All right, Jacksonville, we have spent a ton of money in free agency to help solve these issues. We now have a lighter linebacker that is supposed to be our coverage guy here, right? In Foyesad. We're going to go get a bigger guy who can also play a bit of coverage and come down and really help with the blockers and get in the face of those big tight ends. And Leo Chanel is that guy. He is a hard-nosed downhill player, and he works through traffic extremely well. Do not be surprised if Leo Chanel sneaks into the end of the first instead of a couple of the other guys I've talked about. He's a very intriguing player, and I can see him rise early. All right, Lions. Now we're going to go take our quarterback. We're going to go get Ritter. Teams seem to be more impressed with him over Howell and Corral. I mean, you can debate that. I'd be happy to listen about that. I'm not quite sure. Ritter is kind of paired right par with me for Corral. But regardless, Ritter's a very solid quarterback. He has a lot of experience. It shows in how Cincinnati played this year. He might be able to take over Goff's job sooner rather than later. The biggest thing with Ritter is just you need to clean out the every once in a while kind of crazy plays. Corral has this as well, where I don't know what they're processing, but they'll just throw right into double coverage. Like they'll turn head, see double coverage, and still throw it. I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is there, but if you can weed that out, you could get a very good quarterback. All right, Jets. Good runners are needed to make this system work, and usually you got three or more of them that can be rotated in when talking about the Shanahan system. So getting what I believe is the best running back in Kenneth Walker, I think will really help Carter, who you took last year, help him keep him healthy. And you brought back Coleman, right, who can be your other third guy. So you already have the relief running backs on roster already. Now let's get the lead guy. Let's let Walker just run with authority against these defenses and just break tackles. He breaks tackles a lot. He's got a very nice compact film. This is another toy for Zach Wilson, and this offense is ready to fire on all cylinders after this draft already. All right, Giants. Ojawa's injury has just slid him right to you, and you got lucky. This is a very nice piece to this defense. This is great value for the Giants who are in a rebuild. There's no need to push these guys to start immediately if they require the time to heal. I mean, Ojawa's just a freak athlete. He's got that natural kind of like dip and crazy moves that you're like, how'd you do that? And if you probably asked him, he'd probably be like, I don't know. And it's almost Daniel Hunter in that way, where Hunter will just do things, and the Minnesota staff is like, I have no idea where he learned that or how his body can contort in that way. This will be a great pick for the Giants, no question. All right, Texans. Brees Hall is not the best value here, but you literally do not have a running back, and the crop is already going. Please do not make poor Rex Burkhead try to be the lead back here at his age. Please go get some young legs. Brees Hall is an exceptional athlete. Look at his combine grades. Very good 40, very good vert. The Texans can really just give him the time to refine his more technical side of the game, which is my knock on him, right? It's just some of the vision stuff and feeling out gap schemes. And since the Texans can give him that time to work that out, I mean, Brees Hall could be a very dangerous running back. And again, since you really don't have one, you really don't have one on roster, getting one to help Mills, have some kind of relief of pressure on him, right? Brees Hall can take some of it. It's going to help really get this rebuild really get off the ground now that Deshaun Watson is gone. All right, Jets. Linebacker, I think, is the move here. Question is really which one. Harris is a really nice blend of both worlds, and he's one of my personal favorite linebackers that is still here. But I really like him at 3-4 better. I just like that ability, but that's more my personal preference. There's also some other lighter linebackers here, but for me, it feels a bit early, and I think I want the Jets to take a linebacker that's more like Mosley instead of Cashman, because they just traded away Cashman. Chad Muma has been very ranked highly by a lot of people in the league. They really like Chad Muma, even though my grade's more second to third on him. He's a bigger guy who moves pretty well in space. Like he's a tad late to some coverage stuff, but I mean, there's really no issues there. He'll help immediately in run defense, and he's going to be a participant in zone, which is really all you need for a guy in a cover three that does a lot for its linebackers. Just clean up the runs. We'll start teaching the zone system. This is another pick that could just soar up boards if he does fit perfectly. Bears, you finally get to pick after 38 other selections. All right, now the question is, who do you pick? You probably want to get some weapons early for Fields to get accustomed to, and there's still some great options here. Dotson's the next highest wide receiver on my board, and he seems like he's a nice consolation prize to pair with Mooney. He does play through contact well despite his size, and he creates separation over the middle of the field, which will really help Fields get that ball out quickly and diagnose these reads faster. There's a couple other areas you could consider here, but with wide receiver really starting to dip early, Dotson's the last guy you could kind of consider maybe worth a first round grade. I'd just take him here if you're the Bears. All right, Seattle. You need a center, and Zion Johnson helps here a lot. Zion's that kind of guy that I have been hearing from all over the league that he could be a top 15 pick or he could be a mid-second round pick. It is all over the board. Zion is not naturally a center, but teams have viewed him as one. They've had him perform as one at the Senior Bowl and at his pro day now. He is very nice in pass protection. He has an incredibly solid base, very strong hands to just kind of move guys within that space. And I think he can even be better as that center at the next level. He's a pretty clean prospect that has a good floor, and that is more than what Seattle could ever wish to ask here. All right, Seattle again. Seattle picks very quickly here. Tough call. They could either go edge and get the help on defense, or they could go tackle here and continue to fix the O-line. It's very tough. Whatever they don't pick, they'll basically have to be comfortable picking in the third. So I'm going to go up with Seattle has shown here. Seattle has shown to be talking to more offensive tackles ranked in the third and fourth round and more edges in the second. So I'm going to imagine that their plan here is to go edge in the second. But which one? There's tons of options here with all their highs and lows. We're going to go with Jermaine Johnson. I've seen Jermaine recently start climbing up into the 15s. That is way too early, and I've not heard any team have him ranked that highly. Jermaine's really got some nice stuff here. He's got some elite moves. Like there's a spin move he's got that can just go on a dime. It's one of the most lethal spin moves I've seen in recent years. But when you watch his tape, he's not always a factor. So it's hard to rank what you actually see Jermaine Johnson as. I have him as a first, but I've seen plenty of analysts that I respect some of their opinions have him into the second. It's tough. We'll see if he lasts this long, but since he did in this mock, we're going to have Seattle take him, and hopefully this one's going to be a hit for them. They really need to hit on an edge this time. All right, Colts, you got Matt Ryan to lead the team now, which is a great trade. I love that. It's time to start taking some more stuff to build around him and make a run possible for the Super Bowl. Let's go get a receiver that's going to help get the ball down the field so we don't have to rely on Pittman and Taylor all the time. All right, Colts, meet your new T.Y. Hilton for this offense and Sky Moore. Sky Moore has a very nice deep run threat ability and incredibly strong hands for that size through contact. Like, man, he is great in that possession catch. Press coverage is just a non-issue for this receiver, and when he gets that ball in his hands, good luck to the poor DBs. They're going to try to get a hand on him. Colts fans will love his style of play, and I think he will emulate TY's style of play almost to a T. All right, QB of the future is here now as the Falcons, and now we have to follow it up with a good pick. We want a good athlete. They're going to attack an offensive tackle in pass rush, but we also need a wide receiver for Pickett to even throw to, because that's also now an issue. So with wide receiver going off early, we're going to need to get that wide receiver while it still seems like we can. Pickens could be even better than what his film and testing numbers show. He's coming off a serious injury that was going into the season, and he played the full season. You can see those flashes in his film of that first round pick receiver, and he's got that massive frame to back it up. Selecting Pickens here should help not having Ridley this season, and he could even be better. He could be worth that first round pick down here if it was just the injury holding him back. All right, Browns, you got Watson. We need to follow that up with getting him with his wide receiver 2 to pair with Cooper. Christian Watson, while not being the typical big body, strong hand wide receiver for his side, he's unique in other ways for his athletics. At that size, he is incredibly smooth and very quick in his breaks. There's really no hitching in his knees or hips when he's making these cuts. And his ability to adjust his body to get to the ball will just fit so well here. And the best part of all is he doesn't have to be the wide receiver 1, as Cooper's going to be taking that heat off him. If you're all in on this year, Browns, you're going to have to start making those decisions, and let's see if it works for you. All right, edge acquired. Now we look at DB or OL. Unfortunately, cornerback was taken so early. Even so, there is a corner here that I like that I think he's skilled enough to play in the slot as well. And until he eventually takes the outside, or maybe you leave him in the slot. We'll see how it goes. Kyler Gordon is a very solid athlete. He was ranked in the first at a time. He's got a very nice base of play, as most Washington corners do. The reason I like him really well here is he matches incredibly well. Like his ability just to match a guy, especially at the line of scrimmage, like guys have a really hard time shaking him within that first 10 yards. And on top of that, he is a great tackler. He wraps well. The Baltimore Ravens really pivot on that. They really want guys just to tackle well. I think this is a very simple selection for them, and he'll fit right in with this group. All right, we got more weapons for our extended QB in Kirk Cousins. Let's go help on defense now. Cornerback is really thin, but it's really what we need, and there is a guy here that I still like. Martin Emerson Jr. is just one of those guys that I really like on day 2, and he should really help fix the secondary. He keeps a lot of things in front of him, and he doesn't let up the deep stuff often. As shown by his prior grades, he only let up like one pass over 20 yards last season. I think this will be a very good selection here. He'll give a very solid base level of talent to this defense who's really trying to restart itself. All right, safety help is needed here, and there's some good ones left. Sign is young and he hits like a truck. He comes downhill well and just smacks guys in the mouth. So tackling is not an issue here, and he already has moments in zone coverage that already look appealing. So for him to take Landon Collins' role here, it is a perfect slide in and play. More than solid selection for the new team. Bears pick again, and now we look to fix either the O-line or secondary, and Kenyon Green has fallen right into their hands here. He's been falling for a lot of NFL teams. I know it hasn't shown on the NFL Network mocks, but a lot of teams have been very sour on him with a very just kind of mediocre to below average combine. But even so, there should be no question that he should be the selection here, especially after letting Daniels go in free agency. I still like Kenyon Green's talent. All right, Sam Howell. It's gotta be the move here. You could go wide receiver, although most of the guys here I have now are third round selections, and I don't think the Saints are that desperate. We're gonna go get an interesting direction here. We're gonna have to go take Sam Howell and let him compete with Winston. It's not a first round pick. We're not forcing this hand to be played, and he's definitely better than at least what you got in Ian Book. Corral could be the potential here, but I think the Saints like their more safe play from their quarterback, and should like to take Howell, who plays better in structure and should really kind of let his pieces do more of the work for him. All right, Kansas. Let's further add on to the weapons for Andy Reid that he has at his disposal. I really like James Cook here. I think that he can be used in a way that McKinnon was used for them, if you're familiar with that in the playoffs. And he's a great fit for this Chiefs offense to get going again. Clyde takes your third downs. Rojo, who they just took up, right? Ronald Jones takes your short route runs, and Cook takes McKinnon's role if he's ever hurt or not available to them. If he goes to another team, through high trade, whatever happens. Cook is just a very good fit to take McKinnon's role, and he can also take Clyde's role if need be. So Cook should really help get the run game going in case of injury, and I really like him to really just help establish, again, a very solid base level of play for that running back room. Because we saw what happened when they got injuries. It was up and down all the time. All right. I want to add more linebacker depth to this crew. We have two out of the three linebackers that I really like. We're going to go get Christian Harris. I said I like Harris more in a 3-4, but at this point, pairing him with Lloyd would just be too incredible. Harris has like these great instincts. He's a fantastic defender in the middle of the field. He chases down quarterbacks. He blitzes decently. I really just love his instincts. I mean, I had him ranked as a top, I think it was a top 65 player coming even before the season started, and yeah, that has not changed. I still like him a lot. So you get Harris to kind of take, you can either take the weak side or strong side, depending on what you like more. Lloyd will probably take your Mike role, and Kazir takes the other. I like it. All right, Steelers, now we're going to take a shot on our quarterback, now that it has fallen perfectly for us. Tomlin took Corral for dinner after his pro day, and he seemed to really like what he saw. I spent a lot of time with him. This is not much for them to take a shot on a guy, and it won't be something that forces them to start him over Trubisky or Haskins or whoever they really like, depending more. It's a solid selection. I like the process, even though there's other things here they should take. Corral just needs time to develop, and he has that cannon arm. Steelers really seem to be looking for that. They've shown up big at every single quarterback pro day as well. It seems to be what they want, even though you could argue in a different way. For Corral, he just really needs to clean up his overthrows and some of that processing. I mentioned earlier that he also, like Ritter, has those moments where he'll just see double coverage and he'll just throw it anyways. If the Steelers can correct that here, you got a nice quarterback of the future. All right, Green Bay, we got 2 second-round selections here. We got a lot we can do. Let's go get that third edge that is very often used in this scheme here. So now that Rashawn Gary is taking a starting role, we need a new third edge guy. Drake Jackson is the next highest edge I have on my board, and he is an incredible athlete that just needs to refine his football. Right? He's got the quick twitch athleticism that I've talked about earlier, right? He kind of just bends and does things that are like just crazy that, you can't teach that. And if you can start getting him to add more of actual technical tool belts to him, right? Get him to start learning how to do a more clean dip and rips, stuff like that, right? Just get more of that into his game. This will be perfect as that third edge. I think Green Bay will like it. All right, Pat's wide receiver time. I know that most of these guys are third rounders, but we do need one. I really like Alec Pierce. Here's the option. He's that big body. He's strong at the catch. He's hard to bring down. He stacks guys extremely well, and he just does it with ease. And on top of all that, he is a good athlete. He is not slow. He is not very rigid in his breaks. He'll be a great target for Jones to build chemistry with and get this offense going. Cardinals, let's go get our new edge. We're talking about that front seven, right? We now got Jordan Davis take the nose tackle role. Let's go get the guy to replace Chandler Jones. Arnold DeBikity is a great fit here for a 3-4 scheme. He just beats on offensive tackles and he gets pressure constantly. Got very good pressure numbers, all like I think it was like 50 plus pressures, something like that in the last 2 years. Like he's an incredible edge rusher. He's already got a very nice set of tools as well. He does rush with some technicality, and after having those 2 great years of production back to back, this should be an easy pick for the Cardinals. Wide receiver in IDL, or what the Cowboys should be looking for here. I'd rather go take a good IDL here, as my level of ranking these IDLs starts to get very thin after now. So Travis Jones, while he isn't my biggest love at IDL in the draft, he is very good for this front seven. He can play nose tackle. He can start really just bullying these offensive linemen, which is Dallas really needed last year. They were way too squishy in the middle, letting guys just take what they want. So letting those guys who are much more the lighter finesse guys and pairing them with the bigger guy in Jones to help eat space, this should help fix that issue against the run. Buffalo Bills, we got some options now. You already got your corner of the future, and you've made a ton of cuts so you can acquire different pieces. So let's go look at somewhere where they might want to just get cheaper or get some depth in case of injury or stuff like that, right? So we're going to go get another receiver that I personally really like to match up with Diggs, Davis, and now Crowder in the slot. John Mechie is a very solid all-around receiver that really just got his season unrailed by a torn ACL. He has hauled in a ton of catches, and he could easily have been a first-round pick if he had the time and training. Maybe, just maybe, he can get here with the Bills and has all the other talent around him, and you can have just 4 insane receivers for this group. Falcons, let's go edge here while it's still available. We're gonna go take Nick Bonito, who's another one of those crazy physical twitch, quick twitch athletes. He does move that like very well. Like it's incredible. He's really got this insane burst off the line. And even though I said there's a couple of these guys who can do it, and I'm saying like it's more of a commonality, it's really not. Guys who have that quick twitch athleticism, they're not a dime a dozen. And to get one who also fits in your 3-4 scheme so well, I mean, come on. His pressure numbers also back up as well. He has insane pressure numbers, and his pass rush grades are all in the 90s for 2 years straight now. This should be a slam dunk pick for the Falcons. Packers, we're going to look at tackle here, even though there's still some good wide receivers for the third round. I like Sean Ryan here as the choice. He is a young guy who has handled some of the best edge rushers in college. Watch his tape versus Thibodeau. Thibodeau had to run to a different side of the line to get away from Sean Ryan. He is a very physical blocker in the run game, and if need be, he can kick into guard, which should be a win-win in either case for the Packers. In case of injury, in case that his arm length doesn't work and you need to move Elton Jenkins out to tackle, whatever it may be. There is no wrong decision here for the Green Bay Packers when picking Sean Ryan. All right, Bucks, let's go get some safety help. We need to replace Whitehead. Jaquan Brisker is a very physical player who has some pretty nice instincts in coverage. He's incredibly strong, and he plays that box role incredibly well. He just sorts through traffic. He actually will just push guys backwards. I mean, this is just a very, very good fit to replace Whitehead with, who plays a very similar role. Hey, Niners, it's your turn. Finally, right? So, this selection, it matters a good bit now, as pieces were lost in free agency and some very valuable pieces. They brought in a new cornerback and a bunch of guys to play special teams. So they have depth and a starting corner essentially. So what we're going to do is we're going to go look for our replacement in Laken Tomlinson with Sallier. He's got really great pass pro. I like his pass pro a lot, and I like that how he moves in motion to the second level, which really fits this scheme well, right? You want to get these guards in motion, and if they can pass off to the center, you want to get them going up to the second level, up to the linebackers here. So for you to get who I think is a really good player and help you get cheaper as well, and you're going to get comp picks as well for Lake and Tomlinson. So I think this is a very solid selection here. I know they like Aaron Banks. I think they're going to try Aaron Banks at right guard. I'm not sure if that's going to stick or they'll try him at left guard now that Tomlinson's gone. Either way, you can still have Banks take a shot at a starting position. Regardless, I still would pick Jamar Salyer here. All right, Casey, you have some leeway here in your choice. I'm going to go a little bit wild here, right? There is nothing. This is the first pick in the draft where I am making a personal decision. We're going to be selecting Trey McBride to get into this offense, and we're going to pair him up with Travis Kelce. McBride is an excellent blocker. He blocks with leverage, and he does not move off the ball very well. Like, when I say he's a great blocker, I want you guys to know I've seen him handle edge rushers in one-on-one blocking schemes, like completely normal. And when you look at him as a receiver, right, you start, okay, what can you do as a receiver? Well, when you get him over the middle of the field, he creates insane separation, and he's a mismatch. Pair him up on the outside, like I've literally seen him line up at X receiver, and he will just dunk on corners with his height, and he'll just snag that ball in front of them. Pair him up with a linebacker, he just snaps their ankles. He sinks so well when he plants that foot and switches his hips. I mean, come on. Good luck trying to cover him, and then you pair him up with Kelce with all the other weapons they have on the field. I mean, my lord. Like, poor offenses. All right, Bengals. We took an incredible athlete and a high-end shot in the draft, very, very early in the draft here. Now we're going to do something to build the trenches. The tackle spots are figured out. We got 2 of the 3 IOL spots. They're guaranteed done with the signings for free agency. We're going to look to someone who can maybe fill that other offensive guard spot. Maybe you move Karasi out and he can play center. So Curly Smith or really any other offensive guards, right, can win that spot. When I mean Smith, I mean Dante Smith. But if we want some honest competition, let's bring an athlete who has moved around the O-line and has had success everywhere. Dylan Parham is not my favorite player, as you can see in my grading, but he fits really well here, and I think he could excel. He really moves around other spots. He's played tackle. He probably wouldn't do that in the NFL, but to be the athlete to play tackle and then kick into guard and also be very solid, like he's graded out very, very consistently across the board. I think this is a very solid selection for the Bengals, and this should help keep Joe Burrow upright. And with everything being said and done, we are now at the last pick in the draft. After getting Wilson and spending the money in free agency to build around him, let's make sure we keep this team young and deep. We're going to take a crazy athlete that I haven't seen many people talk about yet. He's one of the last guys I evaluated too. His name is Troy Anderson. He's from Montana State. And he is a multi-position athlete. He has a great mind for coverage, which is coming from his time as a quarterback, and he knows blocking schemes well, which is also probably coming from a running back standpoint. He understands how offenses want to attack his position as a linebacker, and he exploits it to make them pay for it. He is incredibly smart at this position, and he has very good instincts. He's very intuitive for what he does. And to pair that with someone who has great size and athletics for that position, I mean, just give the guy the time and the spot to develop and work. There should be no better fit here for getting Anderson in a scheme like the Broncos have at 3-4, where he can come up to the line and then drop back into coverage quickly. He can really bait a quarterback to make a throw, right, trying to take a slant route or a little hitch, and then he can jump it. I mean, this should be really, really simple for the Broncos here. I really like the selection. And to finish our mock draft off with this selection, I mean, feel free to talk about it in the comments below. I don't know if anyone's really talked about Troy Anderson. I have not seen anyone talk about him, but I really like him as a player. And with that being said, thank you all for tuning in, and I really hope to see you next time. Later.